In this lesson, I want to talk about the prerequisites for AJAX, what I'm expecting that you already know. For those of you following along with the exercise files, I'm looking at localhost AJAX chapter 01/06/script.html. There's nothing particularly fancy about this page, so let's go take a look at the code. I've switched over to my text editor, and now I'm looking at the HTML page. This is really pretty simple and straightforward HTML. There's a head, there's a body. Inside the head, we've got a link to a style sheet that's in the same directory, and we've got a link via a script tag to a script.js file, also inside the same directory. The body of the page is a table, and down at the end there's a paragraph containing a link. Many of the table cells have an ID attribute, which are set to square 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and so on. This is all stuff that you should be very familiar with in terms of HTML. If you're not, you probably want to go check out one of our HTML titles. Now we're going to switch over to script.css, and in a similar fashion, this is straightforward cascading style sheet. There's some simple rules for the body, for the h1 tag, for the th, table headers, for the table itself. We're setting some alignment. This is all straightforward CSS that you'll be expected to already know for the rest of this title. On to the JavaScript. This is the script.js file, and again, this is JavaScript that you'll be expected to know for the rest of this title. At top, there is a window.onload handler. That's going to take control when the page first loads. We're setting up a variable called usenums, and it's going to be an array. Here's a function called newCard. Here's a for loop that's going to go around 24 times, calling another function called setSquare and passing it a value of I. Here is an if-else conditional. These are all things that you should know by now and should be very comfortable with. Scrolling down some, here's the setSquare function with a value being passed to it. A number of other variables being created and initialized. A string, an array, here's a number. Here's another type of conditional. This one's a do while. This one's going to do something while some value is true. And at the end of this function, we're going to use something that you should be very familiar with, or will be shortly, document.getElementById. That's passed a value. That's the name of an ID. And once we get that, we're going to use its inner HTML and set it to a value, which will change how things appear on the screen. And here's our final function, getNewNum, which returns a value. This is all JavaScript that should be familiar to you now. If it isn't, you probably want to go check out our JavaScript title and come back to this when all of this looks more familiar. Next up, we're going to start into understanding the DOM and XML.